Hi there, and welcome to the Experience Podcast. My name is Dennis, and welcome to the channel. Welcome to this podcast. If you're new here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you put the notification on. And I'm very honored to be amongst Jonathan and Neil, and are the guests today. And I also want to invite you to, in the description, there's going to be a lot of links to events that we hold. And also there will be a donation link to where you can donate to Earth Waking and the movement that we have here. And also when you donate, you're not just donating, but you're receiving nature coin in return. You will have the currency of the new Earth. So with that, go ahead and introduce yourself, Jonathan, and we'll just go around the circle.
Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm Jonathan Mozenter, and my specialty and passion is individual and collective transformation. We are headed towards a glorious new earth of peace and abundance, and I'm a speaker and a consultant, and I use a whole bunch of different tools in combination to make transformation, positive transformation, where you all feel good and we win together. That's my specialty, and that's what I'm here to talk about.
I am a multi-dimensional spiritual being that's expressing through this human vessel. I'm here. My name is Neil. Some of you have met me. Some of you are just meeting me right now. If you're just meeting me right now, I'm a coach, and I assist people in their 20s exit the matrix and actually be with their soul family. So if that's you, if you're looking to get out of this sick slave system and actually have an abundance of food, actually have an abundance of water, actually live in community, actually have an orientation that's aligned with your highest potential as well as the collective highest potential. I'm a bridge. I'm a person that is an access point to that. And how you can reach out is via my Snapchat. You can also reach out via my email. And those are in the description. And additionally, every Monday at 5 p.m., I host a natural balance masterclass. And this is a 1-hour masterclass. And in this masterclass, it's designed specifically to nurture balance and cooperation inside of us so that we literally see this reflected outside of us. And natural balance is it's a movement that naturally unfolds when we stop doing. When we stop doing, what's left is natural balance. And it's also a virtual as well as a physical community. And natural balance is hosting a psilocybin mushroom ceremony on the 25th of January, which is tomorrow and a week. So there's this online community, and there's also the physical ceremonies that you can be part of. And how you'll access this is in the description. And thank you, Jonathan, for being here. You brought some inspiring topics that are inspiring personally to Neil. These are concepts and topics that I've been playing with, I've been navigating with, I've been doing a lot of research on them. I've been doing a lot of self-experimentation on these topics, like literally finding out what works for Neil. For example, like when I go to sleep, what does it take for me to prepare to go to sleep? Do I like to read? Do I like to exert a lot of physical effort during the day? Do I need some time to unwind? And when I get that recipe dialed in, my quality of sleep improves and going to sleep becomes this easeful thing. And I'm here to talk about recipes and to talk about what actually works. And yeah, I'd like to hand it to you and see where you want to take it.
Yeah, I'm a teacher who likes to both talk about things, but also give people experiences. And I wanted to start off with a little bit of a concept, and then we're going to show people how to apply it like right away. one of my teachers, Donnie Epstein, I've studied with a whole bunch of teachers in transformation, some in the esoteric realm, energy teachers like Sifu Rob Jones. I'm an energy teacher, and Donnie Epstein teaches epi and energetics. And we're going to do something for Donnie Epstein first, but I've also taught and studied with a lot of Tibetan Buddhists. And so how to master your mind and how to master energy. And my traditional kind of matrix world job was also in transformation. It's something called organizational development or change management. It's how you get groups of people working well together to create the extraordinary, which is what I'm all about. So one of my teachings today I want to start with is this thing about energy first. My teacher, Donnie, in his new book, The Seeker's Code, calls it energy coherence, where we want to have the most amazing time in every moment. We want to align what energies we want to bring to that moment to make it be extraordinary. And I thought I'd give an example of that. So we each agreed before the show one energy that we wanted to bring, and I'm going to show people how to blend the three of them together. So the intention is to bring these three energies and to have it dominate this podcast. So it's like an energy contract. So it is really simple. You guys can do it with us. So the first one we're going to pick, put up your left hand and just put it up like this. And I want you just to feel gratitude, the emotion of gratitude. Life's a gift. Nobody knows how any of this is possible. And we live in this like magical wonderland. We're here in Costa Rica with the epic views. And just think about something in your life that you really appreciate about your life. So just make it personal for you and just breathing the feeling of gratitude. Whew. And then in your other hand, we're going to bring up inspiration. Think about something that inspires. For me, I get inspired by seeing people happy. When I see people on their joy and their smile, something in me like lights up. It's like my soul's purpose to see like the whole planet lit up with happiness. That gives me the most joy ever. That's when I committed my life purpose to doing that. So now just think about what that is for you. What inspires you? What's the thing that gets you up pops you out of bed in the morning with a smile? I can't wait to make that happen. So great. And now we've got our feeling of inspiration and gratitude. And now we're just going to blend them. So this is how you do it. It's real simple. You just really focus on the one feeling like gratitude. Just do it for like 1 or 2 seconds because you already evoked it. And then you go to the other one, inspiration. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back and forth like this. 1 second here, 1 second here. And then start to bring your hands closer and closer together, back and forth. And then I'm going to count down from 3 to 0. When we get to 0, we're going to clap our hands together, back and forth. 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness. You feel the power in that? We've got gratitude and inspiration kind of swirling around like a vortex of super energy. And it's just, woo, all of a sudden I just feel it like everywhere. And we're going to bring in one more, the three of us. So we got 3 different emotions. So now we're going to take these 2, gratitude, inspiration, we're going to bring it in our left hand. And now we're going to bring in a new one. We're going to bring in clarity. This is a show here today where we're going to bring clarity to the metaphysics of life, to the mysteries of the universe. And we're going to speak with precision and precise so that you can get the most out of this podcast. It's going to be so many energy-rich reels and just nuggets that you can write down. So you might want to get your notepad out because we're going to be dropping spiritual wisdom bombs left and right. Between the 3 of us, it's going to be super powerful. I want you to just think about clarity, about just speaking with precision and precise. You get right to the point, and we're not wasting any time. We're maxing everything. Just bring the feeling of clarity to it. And now we're going to do the same thing we did before. We've got that inspiration and gratitude bundle over here, and now we're just spicing it up with clarity. Back and forth, start to bring hands closer and closer together. 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh, now we're going to just finish it off. And the 3 of us, what we're going to do is we're going to start just make a little circle like this. It's like a tornado of energy. And then I want all 3 of us to bring our hands closer to mine. Go like this. You guys can almost bring them together like in the middle. And let's see our 3 vortexes coming together into one. And put your hands down and imagine this just getting bigger and bigger. Now there's like a hurricane right around us. 3, 2, 1, boom, done. And this whole area and over to you has these energies. I just woo. I feel it. Yeah. It's just it's in the air. And so now we can kick it off with those in mind, and I'm just going to influence the rest of the podcast. And I teach people how to know which emotions and strategies that they can pick so that every moment could work out as best as it possibly could. So anyways, where do we want to go from here?
I would love to go into psycho-spiritual stacking and what this is to you and how you found out about this concept.
Yes, that's a great topic, because psycho-spiritual stacking just means we're taking different ideas and tools and we're putting them together. So like the one tool we just did, the Epi-Energetics, the bundle, and I've taken this class Alchemy, and it has a whole bunch of tools in it, and we put them together. And Donnie used the tool like stacking, and then I was thinking, that's who I am, because I'm like somebody who likes to learn about a lot of different things, including self-assessment tools, which I think getting to know intimacy with life is one of the most important things, getting to know ourselves personally, but also the patterns of life. So like I'm just going to, another tool I like a lot is called the Enneagram. And the Enneagram is a tool that tells you a lot about yourself. You can take free tests and you can learn about your strengths, your natural strengths and your natural weaknesses. And then also what to do if you find yourself in one of these weaknesses. How do you actually get out and get back to your strength? And this is really at the core of what I think the planet needs to do, is to start to recognize when we're in our defensive, suboptimal, low energy patterns and get present to it and get out of it. I know here at Earth Waking Village, they spend a lot of time doing that because it's critical. It's the thing we need to bring this new Earth thing. And then once we get out of our defense patterns, we can think, what are the best practices? What are the best patterns? And if you're in your defense patterns, you don't have any energy to think about being on offense. You're just lost in it. Most people are in their defense patterns and have no idea. So we want to bring self-awareness.
And most people, most of the time, die having always been in their defense patterns. And you watching this kind of a content, you're already a person who's on the path of transmuting this defense energy and moving towards compassion and moving towards love and connection. And somebody who watches this type of content is somebody who's already on the path and on the way.
So I have a question.
Yeah,
for you.
far away.
So what if, like, for somebody that has never heard what a defense pattern is, like, what is that?
Absolutely. Great question. Defense patterns. So what happens, I'm going to explain to you why defense patterns come about and what they can look like. So first off, nothing in this world is bad. Defense patterns serve a positive purpose. We feel like we're looking to transcend them, but they serve the purpose for us. Imagine just being born and not having a roadmap on how to like master these things. Like a baby pops out, or even the ultimate reality, the way I understand in time, first comes out like not knowing how do I be God. And so there's like the shock of being like alive. And sometimes moments overwhelm us. Like they get so intense. Something like we screwed up, we're wrong or bad. The psyche gets really starts making up story and wants to die and kill itself. And there's an energy called the survivor intelligence, that God is so intelligent that he anticipated. He's like, oh shit, I might have a period. If you ever heard of like Atlantis, for example, like I know Spirit wants humanity to ascend and everybody to win, but that fell apart. It didn't reach it. And so Spirit has these patterns like shocks to like deal with that. And what happens if you've heard the thing, as above, so below. So what's happening at all levels the same. So let me talk about this on an individual level. I'll just personalize it. So I had an experience where as a kid, when I was doing my trauma work, as a kid, I had a sexual assault and it was overwhelmed my system and I passed out. Like I literally suppressed it, and it took me until like I was my early 50s before I figured that out. And what happened is the defense pattern was like, Jonathan, you can't handle this overwhelm, this feeling of like helplessness. It's usually tied to helplessness. And and you decided as a specific defense pattern was to escape into your imagination. And what happened for me was I was like really into sports and I was good at sports. And then after that sexual assault, I became like a space cadet. I remember being like having a little T-ball, like it's on a T and all you got to swing, it's like right there. And I couldn't like, cause I was like, some part of me was still stuck in that trauma state. I hadn't digested it yet. I couldn't swing it to save my life. And from that day forward, part of me was like on another plane. I was very hard to be present. So that's one form of a defense pattern, is leaving, is escaping.
Just with this, like this splitting, it's a fragmentation of the being, which is what causes the inability to be present. And this fragmentation, I've heard it spoken to by many people. I've experienced it directly with people. And it most often happens with like intense trauma. And trauma to the point where the soul fragments, and it's because to literally not be there and be experiencing the trauma. And by being somewhere else, it can like not experience it in theory, but part of you is here still. So I just wanted to speak to this soul fragmentation. It is a thing and it happens from intense trauma. And then, so I think you've transcended this, and I feel like that's discernment, but I would love to ask you if you have transcended it, and then what was your journey of that?
Thanks for that observation. Yeah, yes. I have learned to do it, and I use all these tools. So I have my Tibetan shirt on here because the Tibetans showed me the ultimate roadmap of how to get past it. And when I was taking this class, I said to Spirit, like, hey, I'm noticing there's all this divide and conquer, there's these false flags, there's this fragmentation on the planet. I was like, oh, I don't know, just give me, I'd like to help, but how can I be useful? And the spirits came back with, hey, Jonathan, you're a single guy right now. You like to learn like a lot of different things, and you seem to be obsessed with this Buddha thing, which is a good thing because we need more Buddhas. I'm going to guide you around to all the new cool stuff. And when you combine it with this knowledge, people are going to be able to get the Buddha state like a lot faster. You're not going to have to sit in a cave and meditate. In fact, you can make it fun. So this really dovetails. So how did I get past it quickly? One, there's a few, it's about stacking. It feeds into this question that we've been asking.
Amazing.
So the first, I'm gonna talk about 5 things. And this is a new way for me to learning. Before, I used to be all in my mind and I have to figure out what am I gonna say. I don't know what the 5 things are yet. I just get this, the Christians call it the Holy Spirit, and Tibetan Buddhism, they call it the knowing. Donnie Epstein calls it soul intelligence. Every tradition has it. Sometimes you can just know what you're going to do like ahead of time. I'm just going to work my way through it. So the first thing that's really important to know, I learned this from the Tibetans, is there's a karmic law. This is probably one of the most important things I ever learned, is that the consciousness wants to feel and experience everything. So if you make a moment where you decide, I can't feel that, there's still some part of it's like curious. I wonder what that felt like. And so the body's always trying to feel it, but then the defense pattern's like, nope, you told me. The defense pattern's job is so you don't feel it. So you're in this kind of weird state where part of you wants to feel something and part of you doesn't. So that's not a great use of energy, guys. It's not a great, and that's if you wanted to get really, if I had to say what's the one thing that's holding humanity back, this is going on and we haven't solved this problem. So we're going to solve it, and we're going to solve it together as a species, and it's going to go fast. We're going to make it fun. So what happens I'm going to show you what happens if you don't solve this. And this gets back to what Neil was saying about people dying in their defense patterns. People are fused with their defense patterns. They think their personality is their defense pattern. They don't realize there's another energy of soul, a higher that's connected to the Father, to the Weaver, to the Dharmakaya, to the highest realities that can guide us and make life a lot easier. Trust me, you want this because it just makes everything easy and effortless and fun, and we can have that good life now. So this is a very important thing. So it's worth slowing down a little bit and really helping you understand. If you don't resolve, This is how it's going to happen with your life. Whatever emotions that you have made a choice not to feel, unconsciously, the life is going to keep creating circumstances so you get into something that's got the same energetics of that trauma, and so you get another opportunity to feel it. It's like, okay, you didn't get it that time. You don't want to feel it. We're going to put you in those situations over and over again. So that could get nasty. And eventually that could show up in physical wounds or cancer. I've come to discover that all of my physical problems were based on actually my psychological wounds. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One is I had Crohn's disease, which is a autoimmune disease, and it's about digestion. So I wasn't able to stay present. I told you I was in this leaving pattern where I was spacing out a lot in my imagination because I had a story that it wasn't safe to be here. Because I thought I call it some part of my mind was imagining like some guy. Because when I got assaulted, it was a friend and I wasn't expecting it. We were just playing and wrestling, and before I know it, he's punching me in the head and pulling down my pants, and I'm like, what the fuck? And my sense of safety went out the window. And so I was like, some part of me was like, didn't feel safe to be here. So yeah. So what I wanted to say about that is, how does life show up for me? So then what would happen, because I didn't resolve that? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about digestion. I wasn't digesting the trauma. So I wasn't digesting it. Showed up on my digestion. So I was pooping blood and like I had to be on all this medication. And then I wasn't in my mind. I ended up on ADD meds. ADD is not a physical problem. It's like the mind has made up a story. It can't be with reality. And so that's why it's like spacing out all the time. And then because I was spending all my time in my mind and not in my body, I was like on a very high energy person, and I wore out my adrenals, and I got like a tumor, a non-cancerous tumor in my thyroid. So it was all connected to this one trauma. So like, and so that's just how it plays out.
So
yeah, I was gonna ask you guys, do you have any examples or anything to say about that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that if there's trauma in my past and I continue life without dealing with that trauma, there will be experiences that will show up similar to a tuning fork where it'll be like, and then it'll be matching the energy of whatever that trauma was.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 100%.
Okay.
It's, yeah, the energetics of it, the underlying things. So for me, what is the underlying things? It was around terror. And what happens also is I would project it out. Like I was a worried wart and in denial of it. I was like, I just worried something terrible was going to happen. Even I actually came to this life with this. Some of these things happen in this life, but almost I do believe in past lives. And I didn't believe it at first because I was in a Western culture and it just wasn't part of the thing. But I discovered that I was on a soul journey, that whatever happened in this life is because I didn't fully digest it. It turned out I died in a way that was also like very hard to be in my body. It was like really brutal. And there was maybe even a part where, just like I was worried about like pending doom was a big thing. Like something's about to happen. So in some part of my mind, I remember when I was a little kid, I was very worried about monsters, maybe unusually so. I had a ritual every night. I was pretty sure there was like 1,000 monsters under my bed, and I didn't feel safe at all. So I had my favorite stuffed animals, a Snoopy, and I put them under the bed. And every night I did this. I made them kill all the monsters, and then I squeezed them real tight. I'm like, at least you can say, if I had him, I knew I was safe. So I use my imagination for good, which is also a point I want to talk about. Every defense pattern has basically what happens is you start sending your energy in a certain direction and then you get really good at it. So people who have this leaving pattern tend to be very visionary and very creative and have a subtle pattern. So people want to get familiar with their defense patterns. I mentioned the Enneagram's good at that, but even better is the 5 personality patterns by Stephen Kessler. He's nailed it. He's a guy who said basically came up with a theory that everyone has a primary of these 5, and then probably a secondary. I could just tell you quickly what the 5 are. There's the leaving pattern is kind of people space out. Emerging pattern is like codependence. It's where they don't believe that they believe that they need somebody else to take care of them. And then the enduring pattern is people who like just grit and bear it, and they're kind of doing it begrudgingly. So they're like, all right, I'll do it, but they're like put their finger up. And then a lot of people pleasing in that guy. And then the dominant program is somebody's like really aggressive. They just don't trust anybody, and they want to fight people. And then the last one's called rigid pattern, which is somebody who's like a perfectionist. It's got to be just right, or they freak out and are very controlling. But each of those has a superpower too. So, and what I've learned is that as you learn to transcend it, I'm going to get into step 2 because I mentioned 5 things. Is that when you get to learn to leverage your natural strengths, and so you get to keep those. And then when you work on transcending your weaknesses, your thing that puts you in the defense pattern, you actually end up you develop another set of superpowers. So you go from a person who's got like a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses to somebody who now not only still keeps all their strengths, but now they've developed, now their energy doesn't dip anymore into these wasted time and defense patterns, and they got a whole other set of power. So they're like 3 times as powerful. So it's like a big deal to do this work. And yeah, you guys have any comments before I talk about what is apparently the second part of this transformational process?
I'm complete. I love where you're going with it, and I'd love to hear the second part.
Okay.
I do have something. What was the name again? And is there a book or a website that people can find the person, the author that you
Yeah. It's 5 personality patterns by Stephen Kessel. And there's videos on it. There's no test. You just read about it, and usually it's pretty obvious. And this is something I'm doing with my clients. I'd love to do a masterclass here on your Earth Waking about it and teach people that, because it's really powerful to see your pattern. So the second part is I'm getting also from the Buddhists, and also I learned this from Donnie Epstein. It's like the importance of starting to re-feel your feelings and not making any feeling bad. There's no bad feelings. There's no bad in life. There's better and worse, yes, for sure. But we're here to digest what it means to be alive. And so I talked about experiential stuff, or giving really practical tips. So I'm going to give people a really practical tip. So if you notice there's like a certain feeling, and if you read the 5 personality patterns, it'll tell you the feelings you're likely pushing away. So for me, self-loathing was a big one. Like when I had these trauma, I blamed myself for it. I was a little kid, and I didn't really have a lot of. I remember now that maybe I stole this kid's baseball card, and that's why it beat me up. Later in life, I realized that wasn't really what's going on. Like, I'm a little kid. I don't know. I'm 6. So I forgive that guy for that. But so thinking life doesn't like me, doesn't trust me, it's not trustworthy. What I've learned is to rewire. And so instead of any time like I failed, instead of like linking failure with self-loathing and then just spacing out, what I learned is to be like aware that it's okay. Like sometimes I feel self-loathing, not that I am self-loathing. So there's something that there's a really important Harvard professor called Robert Keegan. He calls it makes subject object. The problem is we think we are self-loathing. We don't realize that we are actually, I am the witness of our experience and not our experience itself. So you can just use this simple technique. Anyone can do this. So if you notice there's something you're having a hard time feeling, like self-loathing or self-hatred is a very common one, just be like, I'm aware. Sometimes I don't like myself. Whatever. I acknowledge. Sometimes I don't like myself.
Yeah,
and I accept it. This is the last one. It's called AAA. I accept sometimes I don't like myself, and then you start to repound. It's okay to feel this. It's okay to feel this, and then it's out of your system, and you can return to presence and get out of it. Right.
Yes. like with this bringing awareness to it, with bringing consciousness to the pattern, like that in itself is like a huge step, because for the people that never recognize their patterns, it's because they're unconscious patterns. They're just a program that's running, that's being played out, and they don't know why it's being played out. But when you actually bring consciousness, you bring like focused awareness to why is this pattern playing out? Why is this? What am I believing inside of me to have this manifest? And so just bringing conscious awareness to it, I literally don't think you need to do anything else. If you do that, if you become aware of the pattern, that in itself is a step towards releasing it and moving through it. And then you took it a step further with then accepting the pattern. And I think this is essential. But definitely the first thing is to become conscious of it, bring awareness to it, and not need to fix it. To just, hey, this is there. I'm aware of it, and I acknowledge that you're there.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the highest level practices in this, I didn't just study Buddhism. I studied in Buddhism. There's 3 turnings. There's the first turning, and that's Buddhist 1.0. Then there's the second turning, and then there's the third turning. And now I'm one of many people who I think are creating what's called the fourth turning, which we're building on Buddhism by combining it with other stuff. So these third turning practices, one of the highest practices is called self-arising, self-liberating, which means you allow the natural process of life to take over, and you learn to operate beyond your defense pattern. So that includes seeing your defense pattern clearly. Like Neil's, first you got to be aware of it. Or if you're not aware of it, how you gotta see it. So you distinguish it, and then you like see it, and then you be like, okay, I see you, and I don't, I let it just. These people like think they can get rid of their bad habits, but that's actually you can, but you have to actually do it by not trying to get rid of it, by just becoming less interested in it. Like it's called non-engagement. It's that thing I used to do, like leaving all the time. Whatever, I don't want to do it anymore. So in the beginning, it's like because it's connected to a deep wound, you do it automatically. And then you start to it's a process, right? It's a process. You start to become more aware you're doing it. And then you start to learn to feel those big emotions, which is what I'm going to get into number 3, which is how to do that easier. And then, so that'll loosen it too. And eventually I don't need this pattern anymore. You just see it, you catch it faster and faster. And eventually the conscious is like, he doesn't really need this anymore. And it goes away. So you can't actually transcend it. The techniques. Right.
Something that I just heard there is by accepting it, you're actually loving it.
Yes.
So one thing that we say here at Earthwaking is what we resist persists.
Yep.
So if, for example, if Dennis gets angry, rather than resisting the anger, I tell myself, sometimes I get angry and I love that. And that immediately, what you just spoke to, that pattern releasing, that's what I deserve.
Yeah, no, that's it. We're here to God didn't screw up. It's already perfect. And I'm going to get into this a little bit more in number 5, which is about falling in love with the process of life. But it's exactly it. It's seeing the beauty in each part of creation. Even people, I know people come up to me like, John, you're saying Hitler's perfect too. I'm like, in the most highest sense, yes, because even somebody, first goal is to see, just think about this logically. You got to experience something to know what it is before you don't want to do it anymore. So once you have a mass killer, then spirit's got to be like, oh man, that was ugly. And it feels the ugliness of it. It's like, I'm really motivated to not do that again. And we are part of creation. So that's why as a species, we see the ugliness of it and we're working hard so that that'll never happen again. And I'm telling you, this thing that we're talking about, feeling our feelings, is the key. Because when you don't feel your feelings, you also, some part of you doesn't like yourself and you feel like you got to do something to prove life. That's like the term egoic. Like you got a big ego. And like it's okay to have, we want healthy egos, people who are like seeing themselves in the world accurately, not. So I wanted to talk about really important number 3. This is about energy. So here's the thing is, God likes to work in threes a lot. And in integral theory is something I studied with Ken Wilber, another part of the stack here. He studies metaphysics and patterns of life. This is a really primordial pattern of life. And this thing idea of everything first is fused together. We can't see it. I didn't know I had defense patterns. No idea. Nobody taught me that. They were happening all the time. They were running my life, but I was like blind to it. And then there's fusion, and then there's something called differentiation. So I started meditating. I started noticing things I've never noticed before. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like worried more than I even realized. Before I was just like spacing out all the time, and I didn't know why. And then I started to realize what was happening. And then once you differentiate it, then you got to be like, this is interesting. What do I want to do with this? So the last stage is called integrate. How am I going to integrate this new distinction into my life? So we're always doing that. It's always happening. Even on the world, you do it within yourself, but also outside of it. It's just like AI is here now, right? And now people's like, oh, let's distinguish a new thing. We got a chat GPT, whatever, 1111 or whatever the fuck number they're up to. It's like, how are we going to integrate this into our life? Some people are like always go to one, oh my God, it's going to ruin everything. And everyone goes to the utopia side. And some people are in the middle and we argue and people get all freaked out about it. And it's hilarious when you realize we're going to figure it out because humans are geniuses. But some people are in extremes. And when you learn the patterns of life, you chill a little bit. So that's why I think understanding patterns is so important. So this is the pattern of number 3, energy. So when you take higher energy, like a microscope, into the mind, you can actually start to break apart and see things. They're like the 5 elements. So like you take, I'm an Aries. Aries is like fire. So like you start putting fire to the mind and you start to see the wind. The wind is an analogy for thoughts. You can start to see the more subtle thoughts. And that's the key to helping us get into relationships with the different parts we got going on within us. There might be warring. You might have wars in your head. You know that song Zombie? It's a great song. Like in my head, there are all these wars, and wars out inside and outside. When we start shining light, the light of awareness onto it, we can see the subtler distinctions about why there's fights inside of us and outside of us. Then we can see what's really going on. We can see the subtle influences and we can make shifts. So number 3 is about how do we increase our energy? And there's a lot of ways to do it. Energy comes in a lot of different ways. I studied with like a chi teacher, just eating healthy, exercise, having positive perspectives. You could just a free guy is just like saying, I'm enthusiastic, or playing like a ethics music. Like if I notice my energy is down, I'll ask myself, why is my energy down? Do I need to eat something? Do I need to sleep? Or do I need some music? Which of my practices do I going to need right now? It's energy first, like getting energy first. And here's a really practical tip. Everyone can use this decree. If you realize that your experience is 100% linked to your energy level, you'll start to not take it so seriously. Because a lot of people, what happens is their energy drops and they get one of their nasty stories, I suck, comes into their mind, and then they start getting into their worst habits to not feel that. And they think that's who they are. And that's their identity. It's part of their identity, part of their ego. If you start to realize, oh, my energy is just low, no wonder I'm feeling all these things. And you can start this process of disidentification. This is critical to change to get out of these habits. We're helping people get out of habits that are like low energy habits and get them into habits of high energy so that they can just be better versions of themselves. That's what it's all about, folks. So the decree is just to say to yourself, my energy level determines my experience. My energy level determines my experience. And if you just keep saying that over and over again, you'll start to get energy sensitive. Oh, what energy am I at? Oh, no wonder I'm having these thoughts. Oh, maybe I'm not actually a schmuck or like a loser or whatever negative thought you're having is because it's your energy level. When you think about it, just when you're feeling really good, you're having really positive thoughts. So anyways, I thought I paused there and see if you guys have anything.
Yeah. So one thing right now with what this topic is everything is energy. There's nothing that isn't energy. We see physicality and we see a rock and we're like, how's that rock energy? It's just sitting there. On the quantum level, that rock is vibrating and moving. And so everything is energy and everything's always in motion. The only constant is change. And so with this energy, like the energy we're being is what is, we don't see the world as it actually is. We see the world as the energy we're being. So if we're being a shitty energy, the world looks shitty. If we're being a gratitude energy or a love energy, the world looks grateful and loving. And which then brings me to another thing that I choose to speak to, which is if you're seeing, so we see the world as the energy that we are or how we're being. And if we're seeing the world as being ugly, as being dark, as being whatever it is, this is a way to illuminate the patterns and to illuminate how we're being, because it's really simple. If you want to know what's going on inside of you, just take a moment, just stop. All right, I'm here, I'm present. Open your eyes and have a look at your external. And by observing what's going on around you externally, you'll know exactly, precisely what's going on inside of you internally. And based on what you're seeing, you'll illuminate how you see yourself. Because to the degree that I love Neil is to the degree that I can love you. And if I don't love Neil, if I think Neil is stupid, I'll be seeing you as being stupid. If I see Neil as being connected and compassionate and loving, I will be seeing you as being connected and compassionate and loving. You and I are the same thing. The same energy that's in me is the same exact energy that's in you. And we're infinitely connected. And that's part of the remembering, the coming together that's literally occurring on planet Earth right now. So, yeah, the main thing I wanted to speak to was this: recognizing what's inside of us by seeing what's going on outside of us. And it's a way of illuminating.
That's perfect. And that's the perfect segue into the next number 4, which is one of the most potent forms that are starting to get really popular now and are really important is psychedelics. Psychedelics are like an energy booster. Like I was a big video game guy growing up, and I used to like Pac-Man. And he eats an energizer, and he's got magical powers. And psychedelics, when used with intention and used very intelligently, can produce miracles. And they're so powerful that if you don't use them intelligently, they could cause some disruption in your life. And they're important. So it's intelligent use of psychedelics is one of the, I think, most important things that's happening right now. It's a hot trend. And when I say psychedelics, a wide ranging of things of psychedelics, like ayahuasca, DMT, marijuana for sure. You can do it, edibles, any kind of thing. Also like MDMA, iboga. There's a lot of different ones, and there's always new ones are coming up. And mushrooms, psilocybin, of course.
LSD,
yes, and ketamine. Yes. And you can use them alone and sometimes in combinations. And I had a period of my time where I consider myself a hardcore psychonaut. Psychonaut, someone who just plays with altered states. And you can get into altered states without doing medicines like breath work, for example.
And meditation.
And meditation, absolutely, yeah. Just dancing's an altered state, let's face it.
Actually, I have a personal experience I'd like to speak to
go
right
for
now, which is related to altered states and accessing it literally through meditation. So I was at a silent ceremony for 10 days at the start of this year where I didn't speak for 10 days. And during that time, I was meditating like 5 to 6 hours a day. And during these meditations, I had an experience, I don't know if it was day number 7 or 8, where literally with my eyes closed, I was able to see people walk in a room and begin to recognize the person based on their energy. And I was seeing with my eyes closed, and what I was seeing was more of a feeling, and there was visual quality to it, but it was mostly energetic. And it was like synonymous with an NMDMT experience. Like there was no distinction between a profound NMDMT experience that you would smoke, and the transcendental state that I was experiencing purely through meditation. So I just wanted to speak to that. That's fresh. That literally has been at the start of, in the first 10 days of January of 2024.
Nice. So yeah, I think that you're bringing a point, because I actually am a recently retired psychonaut. I had a period where I had left my job and I was doing it very frequently, which I don't recommend, but because you do need a lot of integration unless you're like super epic at it. And I didn't start off doing it like that. It's why I actually worked with coaches. I actually had a meditation coach. John Churchill was guiding my meditation. I was working with a Western esoteric guy, Neil Kramer, and I was working with 2 people when I was learning to do with the psychedelics. And I have a background because of development psychology and things, so I'm naturally good at these things. But one of the reasons I mentioned has to do with what Neil said about the psychedelics are a bridge technology. We're not here to do psychedelics forever or all the time. They actually enable us to have cities or powers. All of us, depending on our archetypes, have special powers. So like I have this leaving pattern thing. So one of my gifts is natural gifts is creativity and visioning. I see like visions. And when I was working with the psychedelics, I got more visions, but now I just get them naturally. And intuition is a big one. And the Enneagram, I'm what's called a type 7. Remember I said I was a guy who was like thinking a lot, so I wouldn't feel like that was what the leaving is, like you're up to your imagination and thinking. So I got to be a really good thinker, but I wasn't feeling at all. But in this Enneagram thing, there's 9 types, and you always have a primary type and then a wing, which is one of the numbers next to it. So mine is an 8, and an 8 is about intuition. And when I started meditating, I started to get my intuition on. And I used to think, man, that was the one thing when I felt like a loser. The one thing that kept my self-esteem going was I thought I was like, at least I'm smart. I was like, I did well in math and stuff like that. But then I realized I got my intuition. I realized I could feel better than I could think. So I'm telling you, man, you want to, and then you combine like good thinking and good like intuition, boom, it just really fast, rapid results. And so I'm definitely here to promote that and how psychedelics can do that. So I just want to, before I get into number 5, because I want to just talk a little bit about why psychedelics, how you use them intelligently. We promise practical tips. So if you really want to use psychedelics intelligently, you're going to use a 3-step process.
And before we go there, I'm just going to speak to this channel does not promote the use of any psychedelic use or any like use of substances of any kind. We're here talking about this as information, as a conversation, and as actually harm reduction purposes. And with that being said, let's open this can up.
Yeah. I'm an advocate of people getting really good at psychedelics, working with professionals like myself and other people who have a lot of experience, because it's a lot can happen during the psychedelic experience. So I'm just going to break down what I do with my clients. Because I put them, I'm not one of those people like some ayahuasca people, they just give you the medicine and you're gone. Whatever, you can have profound experiences, but it's risky. It's not how I do it. So what I do with people is I get to know them, and I'm like, where are you stuck in life? What are you trying to do? What's your goal that you're not able to get? And maybe try other things. And then we really get to know. I help them get to know themselves. We use some of these archetype models, and we get really intimate. And then I teach them how to take these energy bundles, and we just give you the basic ones. There's a lot more elaborate ones I work with my clients, and we help them energize the field so the field knows what you're trying to do. And when you energize the field, it guarantees that the results. You have to surrender the how. And that's one of the keys with the psychedelic experience. You can't get attached to like how it's going to go. The surrender is really important. So step 1 is real deep intimacy with your own mind and your own energies and your own goals. Like it's not something superficial, something deep and penetrating. So when you do the psychedelic experience, you want to maximize that time. And so then there's the psychedelic experience itself. And you're going to want to stack up that day with like meditations and energies. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to keep it at a high level. And then probably the most important part is the integration. How do you understand that psychedelic experience? What does it mean? How does that relate to your goals? And then what are you going to do about it? How are you going to be different? A lot of people say, oh, I have them Greek stories on ayahuasca, but they're the same person afterwards. I can't tell you how many people said like they've done like 100 journeys, but then they're like, I don't know, you haven't really changed. So like we want to get really intelligent use, but some people do use them intelligent. I don't want to make it sound like everyone, but there are cases where people are not really making the most of it. So that's what I do is I break it into these 3 parts, and that's the number 5 is this like understanding the process of transformation has steps and stages. I've spent as a profession understanding and mastering what it takes to do transformation. So one of the most important things is momentum. Actually, the word karma is misunderstood. It means momentum, really. And so the thing is that people are stuck in patterns because it's called a karmic pattern because they've been doing it all the time. Imagine you had this defense pattern and you just started doing it, became a way of being, and you've been doing it for years and years. And it's hard to transcend because you're so used to doing it. Well, the good thing is you can transcend it, but you gotta like really be intentional about it. You gotta have a real program and practices, and you gotta celebrate the wins. And when I say celebrate the baby steps. You gotta break down the chains into little steps and celebrate each one. So it's a big thing as a species. If we're going into an epic stage of transformation, we got to recognize what transformation actually looks like. And sometimes when people are going backwards, it's actually a step forward. You don't understand the dynamics of it. So I got a lot of big ideas about how to gamify this because this is the new big trend in the world. It's just what's going to lead to abundance to everyone is we're all going to get really good at mastering the game of life, and then we're all going to be successful at once. And so if you're out there and you're looking for somebody who's studied a lot of different things and has a lot of creative ideas about how to turn it into gains into very profitable businesses, which I'm calling the new abundance industry, you should get a hold of me. And so that's one of the things I do is my organizational development guys. I bring creative people together who are heart-centered, who want to create the new earth, not just talk about it. I'm talking about being it. And the other thing I wanted to mention is I have a coaching package for people who want to do the deep work, who are like, God, they got something that has been gnawing at them and they're having a hard time getting past it. I got so many tools and I customize it just for you. It's a one-on-one package. And what it would include is me getting to really know you really intensely about a lot of one-on-one private sessions, or we really get inside what's going on with you. And then you come down here to Costa Rica with me. We spend a week together and we'll do a couple of the most powerful psychedelics on the earth and we'll guaranteed results. And then you'll work with me very closely. It's a 6-month container. And if you want to get a hold of me, my website is Mozenter.com. My name is Jonathan Mozenter, www.mozenter.com. And my email is just my name, Jonathan, JONATHAN @Mozenter.com, MOZENTER. You can I'll put the links in the highlights. And yeah, so I'm excited to make these best practices wide known so we can all grow and have the most epic earth ever.
So what's your experience with the environment that psychedelics are taking in? How does environment play?
Environment is critical. I'm glad you asked that question because this is part of the stack. There's a reason I'm in Costa Rica. The energy here is magical, like other level. Like I know the first time I came down here, I'm like, I was sober, but I was like, I feel like I just took some mushrooms or something. And my intuition was on fire. And so it's part of the reason. So there's the energy here. There's a reason why there's a lot of people doing wellness stuff down here. The energy is amazing. But you're doing it in nature's good. But yes, setting, intention are critical. It's all part of the setup. So you want to really think carefully about where you're going to do these psychedelics. You want to feel safe. Right? Safety first. More than anything else, you want to feel safe in doing it. And you're taking a dose that you can handle, and you're with people like space holders who maybe are not on the medicine. That's very practical. Everyone should know the best practices and be careful. These are things can go wrong, but if you do them, you learn the best practices, they will go safely.
I feel very complete. Is there anything you want to ask Dennis or speak to?
Yeah, I'm just very grateful for your time and your contribution to, I feel your passion and your inspiration on contributing to the manifestation of the new earth. And I know that's all three of us. So I'm just deeply honored and humbled to be in the presence of both of you and to have shared this time with you both. So that's all I have.
Yeah, similarly. I really enjoyed this conversation, and yeah, this is my life path. This is it. Nothing gives me more joy than I said with a lot of teachers, a lot of information, and I did it all in service of giving it to everybody else so we can all take the best practices of life and enjoy them and live happily, merrily, and just I actually see a future that is unimaginably brilliant and was so full of light. I feel like a light's just coming in here, like where like it's. I know a lot of people. I want to. This is one last thing I want to leave on. A lot of people think there's going to be an enormous collapse or there's so much polarity. I have a completely different perspective on it. I think it's exactly what we need. It's perfect because it's like, boom, like a fire lighting us on fire. It's like, hey, you got to do. It's like spirits, like you got to do something about it right now. So it's getting ourselves like, hey, but we're geniuses. Humans are geniuses. We're creative geniuses, people. And yes, there are fires out there. No denial about that. A lot of problems, and we're ready for something new. So I'm looking at it as a catalyst to get ourselves going, and so we can create this beautiful planet that we all know is possible.
And with that, I'm going to ask one single question. What am I going to use this for? I love you. Peace.